President-elect Trump did not campaign on territorial expansion, but he sure is talking about it now. He has repeatedly said the United States needs to acquire Greenland, and at a news conference this week, he did not rule out using military force to get it. Same thing for taking control of the Panama Canal. Trump advisors say these moves are part of a plan to counter Russia and China's influence. So with that in mind, Ty, while buying or annexing Greenland sounds a bit crazy, is it?
Yes. Yes. It's totally crazy. So I think every president, when they come in, you know, in the Oval Office, they always put a picture of who they want to be. They put Truman or FDR or Lincoln. I did not see that Trump sees himself as William McKinley. That I did not see coming. But McKinley is tariffs and empire. That's what he was about. But the thing about empire, which we ended after the Spanish-American War, that's the last time we wanted new territory. The thing is, it doesn't work. And we already have an empire. It has hundreds of bases in scores of countries. China has 3 bases outside of China. We have hundreds. It has worked because people want us there voluntarily to help support the rule of law. But if we are to absolve the rule of law and no longer do that, then we're not going to be there anymore. And if we continue to do this, our allies will not think we're allies, and they will start to get nuclear weapons. I think that's the other thing that will happen. If we don't have that sense of allies, there'll be nuclear proliferation. So I think with Trump, he is all about the isms. Nativism, protectionism, and isolationism. That isolationism, however, doesn't happen in the Western Hemisphere. So we're going to see him trying to do this, but it is crazy, and even worse, it's dangerous.
I haven't heard talk before, recently I should say, about the Monroe Doctrine, but all of a sudden, in fact, the New York Post was calling it the Donroe Doctrine. Jenny, your take on this?
So, I mean, Trump did not campaign on this. He did leave his last administration making arguments about potentially taking Greenland. So it is interesting to me that we're now immediately, as almost the first move in his administration, this particular dynastic move. Now, it isn't entirely crazy, though. The globe is in need of rare earth minerals. And we do know that Greenland has them. Now they are buried under potentially a mile of ice. But with climate change, that becomes more real in terms of access. The shipping lanes around Greenland are going to become very important. And strategically, Greenland has been an important location for us with our conversations that we have with Russia. So it's not entirely crazy, but the way that Trump is proposing this, in fact, using potentially force, is really problematic.
So negotiation with allies, perhaps, could get the same thing, Sarah?
Yeah, but if you have to look at, Trump looks at the world as like a real estate developer and a would-be mob boss, right? And a lot of his shtick is this kind of performative strength, right? So even when, we talk of the wall, he didn't really build a wall, but his supporters didn't really care that he didn't build a wall because it's all about this performance of strength, right? And I think, I agree with Jenny in the sense that there's, minerals in Greenland that are important strategically. I'm not sure that Trump could name one of those minerals, frankly. I read that some rich friend of his is the one that put this little bug in his ear. And so, I think this is part of the problem of the media's coverage of Trump in his first term is this kind of bias towards coherence, right? We try to make it sound as though he's really knows what he's doing and that there's some grand plan here. But frankly, I just think it's his own. He likes to be transgressive, right? He likes to perform strength. And he sees the world in very kind of warped ways that I think are not in the United States' interest in the long run. Like soft power is much more effective. China is working in Greenland with them, I guess through hearts and minds. They're not coming in there with a big club. And I think the problem is these countries are going to reject these overtures. They're going to vote for really nationalist leaders in order to push against the United States, and that's not in our interest in the long run.
Ben, the idea of sort of this post-war order that we've had for 80 years has kept the peace. Is this just telling us that the post-war order is dead at this point?
No, what this is showing us is, again, Trump is transactional. He is he is completely underestimated by half the country. But he does have the ability to understand that power comes from a lot of different ways. We have different actions that we can take. He was asked a specific question, and had he said, no, we would never use the military, he would lose psychological leverage in this case. Is he actually going to use military? No, there's no way he's going to use military in Greenland. It's silly.
But what about the idea of just trying to get it anyway? I mean, to buy it, this is still an ally that he's using leverage over.
Right, and we do have strategic bases there, or a base there that is highly important to our national security. So to have the global response that Ty was talking about is the way forward, and that's what Trump's going to do. If he can strike a deal, though, going back to the point about the real estate kind of mind, he's going to strike a deal.
Mm-hmm. So what about the idea of imperialism? I mean, you said he's acting like a mob boss, but is it really, I think what you were saying is McKinley is basically a 19th century imperialist.
Yeah, well, and again, there have been people that argue that we already are an empire. I mean, when there's many bases, some places say over 200 bases in over 80 countries, by some accounts, some of them we don't even know about, we're already everywhere. And it's been very effective to keep the rule of law when we support the rule of law, which we haven't always done. But the idea that we're doing that, I think, is where we become the most effective.
Okay, and I started by saying this is crazy, and you said yes, but Ben, you're saying no, that this is just a strategy.
Yeah, it's Trump that says anything that comes to his mind, and he was asked a question. He was definitely not going to take any leverage off the table.
Okay.